I'm Kevin Lee. I'm here with Eli Marcus, who's known as the mayor of Times Square, and we're going to have a conversation about a variety of topics. So let's start off with did you come up with the idea of doing the Motivation Show podcast?
Well, that came from me being a young kid who sat in the back of the schoolroom and didn't want the teacher to call on me because he was too shy. And he thought that being called on would be worse than death. So he knew as a young man that the other kids seemed to have all the pretty girls and they seemed to have all the fun. So he wanted to break out of that pattern. He started to read every self-help book he can get his hands on, and he wished for a better way. And he found the secret sauce through motivation. And so many moons later, he put a podcast together to help inspire other people, motivate other people, and show them their greatness and show them that they don't have to be the person that they thought they were when they were a kid. They could be something different and greater.
So Eli, who should listen to your show to get your combined wisdom of the years and having become a more motivated person yourself?
Well, I think pretty much every human being, Kevin, should be having daily inspiration and motivation, just like they should have a vitamin. You don't take a vitamin once every 6 months. You take it daily. You don't take food or oxygen in, once every 6 months. Motivation is essential. It's essential to get up in the morning, feel happy, feel inspired, and feel like life is great instead of focusing on the challenges and getting up as if you want to go back to bed and lie there for the next hour. So literally anybody.
That's great. I think certainly maybe the occasional weekend you can lie there for an extra hour, but certainly for a productive day, you're going to need to get up.
Nothing wrong with that, lying there too. But, like you said, you got to get up and you got to get inspired. And, you and I are built the same way. We're wired for improvement. And even if it's 1% every day, you got to get up with that enthusiasm. Otherwise, you're not going to be inspired to improve by 1%. It's just going to be deja vu all over again.
So what could be
Groundhog Day?
Yeah, thanks. So what can people expect to learn from listening to your interviews? Because you've got a bunch already in the can, and you're starting to crank them out more regularly.
Yeah, and I think what people can expect to learn is how to be a better person in general, and whatever they're interested in. I have some people who are interested in becoming multimillionaires. We solve that. We bring in people who have done it. We bring in people who can help you become healthy, or if you know somebody who's not healthy, and we all do, we're going to bring in the experts who are going to show you alternative paths. Not necessarily, the chemotherapy path or the popping the pills path, which is fine. And there's a place for that. We're going to show you other things like a Dr. Bernie Siegel, who was a pioneer in the mind-body relationship. The fact that the mind and staying positive and staying happy, even despite your traumas, can heal you just as well as the chemotherapy can.
Yeah, that's interesting. Why would you say some people are highly motivated and others not? Is there a common theme?
I think a lot of people are just interested in going to work 9 to 5, punching the clock, coming home, popping open a can of beer, watching TV, and they don't really want to assume risk. It's sometimes, in some cases, too much fear, too much anxiety, and they just want to take an easier route out. Others don't have that. They just don't have the desire. Everybody's wired differently. I'm wired so that each and every day I'm finding a way to incrementally improve myself. And I think that's what makes most people happy. But there are people who are happy popping open that can of beer and watching TV, and God bless them.
There are obviously a lot of different ways to define success. Obviously, some people will use money, some people will use other things to define their own success. But clearly, if you want to reach whatever goals you want and be a high achiever, that should be key. So what separates the high achievers from the non-high achievers?
Well, I think habit is one. You got to have a daily habit so that you're laser focused. If you're not laser focused in business and you're scattered, you're going to have a tough time. The other thing is resiliency, because as you and I both know, things are always going to go wrong in business. You're always going to have challenges. That can either break you or you can realize it's part of the process. So you got to have that, resiliency. And then you have to have the perseverance to the point where, you're willing to sacrifice whatever it takes to get what you want. And not everybody has that. Some people are just going to quit a little too soon. And then you have to have the collaborations, because without collaboration, every man's an island until himself, and that just doesn't work. So, your success is by working with people who are hopefully smarter than you in other areas, as I do. I'm always trying to find somebody who's figured things out that'll take me a lifetime to figure out. That's a little too long for me to try to figure things out.
Thanks. Well, you've sold a lot of local advertising over the years, including pre-.com era, and obviously now City Guide magazine is not just a print publication anymore. It's got a digital presence. So what's put you at the top of the game among other ad salespeople?
Yeah. So basically, what I've been able to do is the old-fashioned elbow grease. I've just outworked people at the end of the day. I'm a no excuse kind of guy. And you only have so many hours in a day. And you think that you're working a 16-hour day or a 12-hour day or an 8-hour day, but how efficient is that day? How many emails are you looking at that really have no bearing on the current, sale that you're doing? We all get emails in our inbox. So it's efficiency, how you're spending those hours. In the old days, I was the youngest guy in my organization, and all the other guys were out celebrating, having 3 martini lunches for 2 hours. I just worked straight through it. I just outworked everybody. And then I learned the most important thing, which is, what makes human beings tick? And the answer is really to talk about them. Everybody's got an ego. And the sweetest word in every language to anybody is their own name. And so you utilize their name, you find out what's in their office, you see they have 3 kids, you have that topic of discussion, you make it about them. And once you make it about them and they're happy and they feel you're a pretty decent guy, and their defenses are taken down and they're just more willing to talk to you, and then you can get in. So, the idea is not to sell. See, I go the opposite. Everyone's there thinking about how to close. I'm thinking they're how to build a relationship.
Well, that's been the key to a lot of successful salespeople over the years. And a lot of people want to be that game changer for themselves. So why would somebody want to hire you as a mentor than to improve themselves given where they are now?
Because I was that dysfunctional kid that had to figure everything out on my own. And it took me a very, very long time. And I read every book, listened to every audio tape, flew to Texas to see the Jim Rohns of the world, literally. And so I don't think people have to take that 40-year path that I've taken. They can take the amalgam of what I've learned, the 500 plus books that I've written in self-help, all the people that I've interviewed on the motivation show, all the greats from Mark Victor Hansen, the #1 bookseller in nonfiction history for the Chicken Soup for the Soul series, or Dennis Waitley, who wrote The Psychology of Winning and trained the Apollo astronauts, Super Bowl champions, Olympic athletes. They can get all that in my mind without having to spend 40 years. Everybody needs a mentor. All the greats have coaches, whether it's a boxer, whether it's a ball player, whether it's a movie star. If they have coaches, why don't we?
Thanks. I remember when we were kids, a lot of the call to action around self-help and motivation and sales training was about becoming a millionaire. And of course, now being a millionaire actually is not such a big deal anymore. Now you have to be a multimillionaire. You actually have to move to the letter B in order to get super recognized. So
true.
How can you help somebody reach their financial goals, or just be healthier and happier with the earning potential that they're at, perhaps still, reaching other objectives? Maybe they want to do social impact. Maybe they want to do other things with their lives.
Well, I'm going to answer that with a cliche, but a cliche that works. And really, there's a reason why it's a cliche. The idea is that you have to be in your passion. And if you're doing something that's not really a passion, it's paying you well, it's filling your pockets, and it's completing that, you're going to get burnt out at some point. You're not going to put in the extra effort necessarily that it takes. And even if you do, you're going to pay a health price. So at what price do you make the money? And so if you're in your zone and you're in your passion, your health is not going to break down, because you're going to have joy. You're going to have endorphins. You're going to have tryptophans flooding your head. and your mind and your body's going to be more relaxed. Your mind's going to be, you're going to be happier, and things are going to start flowing to you. It's a law of attraction, as you thinketh, you will get in this life. And so, going back to 1936, Think and Grow Rich, it all starts with the mind and how you think. It has nothing to do with what happens around you. It has nothing to do with what you look like, your color, your size, your religion. It has to do with your mindset and your positivity. And it's not just a hokey positivity. It's, things are going to go wrong in life. Things are going to be tough. If you want to succeed, it's tough. And you got to have a positive mindset for even when the bad things happen. As in this COVID world, you got to say, hey, you can't be broken by it and you can't be bitching and complaining about it. You have to just find an alternative plan. Winners, that's what winners do. They got knocked down on the canvas. As Muhammad Ali said, I got knocked down on the canvas, but that's not how I measured. It's how many times I get up.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I'm sure there are some people watching who want to figure out how to do something today, immediately, that will allow them to take themselves to the next level, maybe even be a complete game changer. So what are 2 or 3 things that you recommend that they do right away to be a game changer?
I've been a game changer and I still do the same things every day. I get up in the morning and I read. Okay. I read books that are done by people who I would love to be my mentor. People who are motivational giants, business titans, successful athletes, and I learn what they do. And I use my unique self. I'm always my unique self. So I'm the mayor of Times Square, whatever else somebody wants to give me as an unofficial title. But I also then model myself after what other people have done because it's a lot easier. So I see the best of everybody, put that amalgam together with my unique personality, and I become hopefully a superstar. And to get immediate results, you have to continue each and every morning to find a way to get a little bit better. And that's my mantra every day, find a way to just be even a 1% better. And, the idea of success comes from a mentor of mine back in the 1950s, Earl Nightingale. Not that I was born in the 1950s, but that's when he was pretty prevalent. He said success is the progressive realization of a worthy goal. And he used the word progressive. That's the first word. Every day is progressive. If you're trying to stuff it all in and think that you're going to grow rich overnight, well, it's just not a realistic plan. You're not going to, manna's not coming from the heaven. The last time that happened was thousands of years ago in the Bible. And if you're going to buy a lotto ticket, good luck. It's fun, but don't expect results. It's a grind. It's a daily grind. So yeah, you can start today and you can be on your road pretty quickly. And the best way is to get a mentor to give you shortcuts or a coach.
Absolutely. One other sort of phrase you hear a lot these days, or actually has been around a long time, is sort of finding that right balance between working hard and working smart. Obviously, you can continue to just grind at things, but if you're doing the wrong things every day, then that's probably not going to be as likely to drive success. So how do you find that balance between, working hard and working smart?
Well, you can go an entire lifetime doing something the same exact way until somebody one day points something out to you that you just never occurred to you. And it's happened to me. I've looked at other people and I'm like, my God, they must be doing the same behavior for decades, getting the same results. But if you don't know that that behavior is wrong or that there's a better way, you just continue to do it. But most people won't tell you. It's not in their best interest to tell you. They feel they may insult you. So we have to be able to have thick skin, actually invite the criticism in, but constructive criticism. And when we get constructive criticism, we can grow. That's where the mentor or the coach comes in, or a friend or family or anybody who can point to you and say, hey, you know something, there is a better way. I would love for people to continuously point out to me better ways I can do things, because there is no way you can figure everything out. Even if you're Einstein, I mean, look, even Thomas Edison had to try 5,000 times until he figured out the electric light. So you got to, go through the trial and error process, but there are ways to make that trial and error simpler because someone else has done the 5,000 tries. Why do you have to fail 5,000 times? Why not let the person who failed 5,000 times show you a better way?
Right. Sounds like part of it is breaking the bad habits and creating new good habits to replace them.
Yeah. And we all have the bad habits. We just don't know that they're there. We don't know our own erroneous zones. When was the last time we ever asked anybody, tell me what I can do better? Point out all the flaws in me. No one says that to anybody else. and people are afraid to tell other people because like, well, they may get upset at me because they'll think it's negative. But meanwhile, it's the most constructive thing. I have a friend who's really good at that. He's really good at pointing things out. Some people would find him very annoying and, be offended. I take it as, you're doing me a huge favor that you take enough interest in me to actually point that out. You could not care. I mean, sometimes your own family, can see your erroneous zones. You're into drugs, you're into alcohol, you're way overweight, and they just let you be, rather than taking you aside and say, I care for you and I love you. That's why I'm telling you this, not because I'm criticizing you. I love you just the way you are, but I'm concerned for you because, being 100 pounds overweight is not, a good formula for longevity. And I'll help you if you want my help. That's a nice approach?
Well, there's a lot of wisdom in that. Thanks, Eli, for joining me, and look forward to continuing the conversation in the future.
Thank you for the great questions, Kevin.